Welcome back to the Scrubdom, everybody. We got a couple of things that we have to go over. Who am I kidding? We got a lot to go over today. So in between last episode and this episode, I got the area for our power station carved out. I have the entire outside surrounded in ceramic insulated tile because ceramic has a really high melting point of over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's going to get hot in here. The only downside is I do have a lot of gases in here that I need to get pulled out, so I'm going to have to drop a gas filter in here and start pulling, not a gas filter, a gas pump. There we go. I'm gonna have to drop a gas pump in here and get everything pumped out. I also have a bunch of steel mesh tiles in here because a lot of the power supplies that you're going to include, aside from hydrogen and dupe power, are going to include a lot of byproduct, and the byproduct is usually going to come in the form of either carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide or polluted water. So I have the mesh tiles here, so the polluted water will just fall straight to the bottom. Because down at the bottom, I'm going to have a bunch of pumps that's going to pick up the water, and it's going to pump it over to our very, very large polluted water tank, all being supported by this polluted water vent that is outputting over 3,000 grams per second in its active period. This is just from this one vent. I haven't added any water to it yet. But since it's polluted water, there's a lot of food poisoning in there. I think each square has over 5 million food poisoning germs. So I've started working on a clean room. I'm pretty certain I actually set this up wrong. I'm gonna want to double check that just to be certain. I might actually disconnect here and have the water come back through and down, just because I want to make sure it gets clean, because I actually want to use the polluted water for a lot, mostly because polluted water has a lower freezing point than regular water, which I can use for a cooling loop on our berry sludge and bristle blossom farm. Because sleet wheat and bristle blossom farm, because I want to get berry sludge up and running, because next episode I want to get to space. We need to get to space. I've never been to space. However, I have run into one bottleneck: my steel. I have almost 4,000 kilograms, so almost 2 tons. Actually, I'm actually not sure what the conversion rate of kilograms to tons is. I'm just gonna stick to 4,000. I've got almost 4,000 kilograms of steel remaining, and I still have a bunch of things that I need to make, like getting a steel gas pipe in with our natural gas geyser, which we finally found. I can't remember if I found it in the last episode or not. I should go back and check to see if I did, but we found it. It is outputting 97 grams per second while it's active at 302 degrees Fahrenheit. So I have to have steel in there to make sure that whatever I put in there doesn't melt. And that's where the problem is, because I'm running low on steel. Then I have to take all the natural gas and run it all the way up here and connect it in up here before we can create the power spine. So there's a lot of work to get done today, and I need anything that's going to go in here also has to be made out of steel. So I have to queue up a whole bunch of steel progression, which means we're probably going to be sitting for a while. On to some bad notes, though. For one, our potential load in our conductive wire is almost 9,000 watts. That's not good. If everything kicks up, all this wiring is just toast. It's done. It's gone. So getting that power spine up and running is going to be our first priority today before we go into any other project. We're going to get steel, and we're going to rush into it. And the big reason that I need to get that fixed is because that will fix the other problem I'm having. The water in our water tank is below freezing. It's below 32 degrees, which means over time, this is just going to slowly start to freeze more and more. If we check the actual temperature in here, yeah, 32.6, 38 degrees, 39.7. I threw in a liquid tepidizer to try to warm it up, but they take a huge amount of power, and it's just going to start to cause the line to break more and more. It's just not worth running right now. So I need to get the power spine up and running, and to get that up and running, I have to get the industrial brick up, not the industrial brick, the power brick up and running, and to get that up and running, I need steel. Hooray. However, we have made it over 1 year in the colony. We also have some new printables available. We also have 2 new duplicates that we're gonna have to go over. I haven't grabbed them names yet, because I want to name them on camera with everybody, but I needed some extra duplicate labor. So I did pick up 2 new dupes, both with their own specialties and whatnot, and we'll go over them in just a moment. The other thing that I also was working on a bit in the background was coring out a bit more of this planet over here. I've got set up to get the supply teleporter and importer and the teleporter supply input and export. Input and output. There we go. That's the right words. I can speak. Once I have those up and running, I can send most of these materials over and start creating a pseudo colony here. Because I really want to get at these slicksters. I think the one up there died, so I actually probably want to do this sooner rather than later. I might actually send Iron Wolf back over to start digging through here. But the other problem is that these require a scientist to actually activate. So I have to either hope that this is a scientist, or I have to send Zalok over at some point. And the big reason I want to do that is because the teleporter output over on the homeworld, I actually connected our spawn to the teleporter input. So we'll be sending gas over, so we won't have to worry about creating a spawn for now. And the planet over there is pretty small, so we shouldn't have to worry too much. I've also been queuing up some research. I'm trying to get to the mini gas pump. We're not going to get to it today, but it is something that we're going to want to need. So I'm going to show you guys how to create a way to make it so heat can't transfer through an area, but you need the mini gas pump to do it. So I'm going to let them go ahead and work on some steel. I'm going to keep an eye on them and make sure nothing goes wrong. And let's just hope and pray that nothing breaks. Something's going to break. I know something's going to break. But we have a plan. We have an execution, and things are going to get done. Let me queue up a whole bunch of steel to get running just so we have plenty of resources. Well, we're up to 46 kilograms of steel now, but we're running low on ceramic. We went from like 20,000 kilograms to 13. So I ended up putting a insulated piping run running all the way up the side here. I also decided to transfer over our bristleberry and sleet wheat farm to this side because I want to try to get a double cooling system in, because I want to create a deep freeze in here to drop all this off to help massively reduce the decay rate, which meant I had to actually use some ceramic tiling here. I'm actually going to double insulate this area. I'll get to why when we actually get there. But while we wait on more steel to come in, I figure we can get started on this. So there's a bunch of gunk up here that I still have to clean off. That'll happen in time. I actually need to just issue one giant sweep command overnight at some point. But I also know there's some slime still in there, and I don't want to deal with the slime long. That's why I haven't dealt with the other slime biome yet. There's one more. We do have some natural gas that slipped through, and there's a lot of chlorine down in here. Eventually I'm going to go through and clean all that gas up. But for now, let's get started in here. I do have a weak crude oil liquid lock right here for now, which is preventing the gases from mingling over. There's still a lot of oxygen in here too. I'll probably have to vacuum the oxygen out, and I'm hoping there's enough oxygen in there that'll keep this from off-gassing, because it's actually in its active period right now, which means I'm gonna have to be quick. So let's get started. That's really all it takes to take a natural gas geyser. Everything that's metal in here is made out of steel. The Atmos sensor, the gas pump, the automation wiring, and the conductive wire is all made out of steel. The piping in the background, oops, wrong button, there we go. The piping is also made out of ceramic. You're gonna wanna, again, I don't know if ceramic is the best to use. All I know is ceramic has a really big melting point, and I can make a lot of it right now. I have a lot of clay to use. Back to just in that time, we went from like next to no ceramic all the way back up to 1600 ceramic. For the Atmos sensor, we're going to set this to above 500 grams. So if it detects that this space is ever above 500 grams of any gas, it's going to turn the pump on. And we're going to be able to send all this up straight up to our power system as soon as we get it connected. But with that, we no longer need that oil resting there. We can actually take these back, which will give us back 400 things of ceramic each, which means we should be able to get them connected up. We also no longer need that bin there. Yeah, you'll notice it's also already hitting over 200 degrees in that area, but everything in here that's made out of steel does have the overheat melting point of, oh wow, 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, no, that's going to be fine. We're not going to have to worry for a long time in here. And again, surrounded in ceramic. But now what we can do is we can go through and actually like tear most of what's not needed in here out. We're going to leave these down here because this is also one of our supplies of clay. Our big supply of clay, though, is actually coming from right up here. Any polluted oxygen that does manage to escape out over this way gets captured. But now we have to sit here and wait for even more clay. Why are you waiting for materials? There shouldn't be any dupes trying to drop those off. Maybe I just don't have enough work for them to do. Or maybe these bins are mostly empty. Oh no, there's clay in there. Who's trying to drop that off? Yeah, why is Zolok trying to drop off clay to my kiln? That should not be a thing. I'll worry about that later. Oh, that reminds me, we also have printables available. So Joshua will be good to send over to the other area because I want 2 ranchers over there. And one of the other duplicates that I picked up, which I still need a name. I haven't named them yet. I'm doing that probably after I pick this. He would be good to send over. Yeah, we're going to take Joshua. So I need to actually pick out 3 names now. Give me just a moment. Let's give a really big welcome to Mediations by D. Actually, I know D was actually going to become one of my editors for a while, but then he moved to Texas and we kind of lost contact. D, if you're watching this, you're awesome, man. Let's also give a welcome to Adachi, Ignis Travian. I'm sorry if I spelled that wrong, Ig. And Cassidy. It turns out I actually took 3 extra dupes while I was away. I must have taken one in between episodes, in between recordings while I was waiting for some things to build up. I can't actually quite remember right now. But we're up to 13 dupes, which I think puts us at our mess hall limit right now. Because let's see. Signed to Cassidy, Ignis, Adachi, which means this one's going to go to Mediations by D. Yeah, that puts us at our mess hall limit. Let me go ahead and get them some skill points assigned real quick. And we'll continue working on a couple of other projects to get ready to get the power brick up and running, because once more... Oh, actually, that didn't take as much steel as I thought I did. Let me see if I can get the layout for the power brick now. So I was at least able to get the idea for where I want the machines laid down. I do have the hydrogen generators in here. Oh, it's an unreachable... Oh, they tore down that ladder. Alright, let me put that ladder back real quick. And while they put that ladder back, I'm going to go ahead and explain a couple of things. So I've got the coal generator set to the bottom. These are going to be, I want these to be set up as our last source of power. The way I'm going to try to set this up is, since our hydrogen is mostly going to be coming from our spawn system, which I'm pretty sure we should be able to save up enough hydrogen in order to have 3 running and then just have the burn off set here. I'll do the bridge system to make sure it goes over there first. Luckily, the hydrogen here is coming out pretty cold overall, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Oh no, that's coming out pretty hot, but that'll be fine because that's going to be eaten up in power. So as long as it goes over in insulated piping, might see if I can do it without doing ceramic. Because I want this to be where our first source of power is going to go. So it's going to get its own link to a smart battery, maybe 2 right over here. Oh, I gotta also make sure to disable these because they don't need to be running yet. Then from there, I wanted to switch over to the natural gas power if needed. I might have natural gas go first just to be on the safe side. I'll show how to set up the power numbers to make sure that this kicks on first, then this kicks on, and then this kicks on. But I want coal to pretty much be our last source. I'll have to run the coal and the natural gas for a little bit though, because I need to get this filled with carbon dioxide. Which means I'm going to need to drain all the polluted oxygen, the hydrogen, and the oxygen out of here. Oh, and the little bits of carbon dioxide at the bottom will probably get pulled out too, but that's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and let them work on that. I gotta now wait for even more steel to get pulled up. But then again, I don't actually need these right now. Oh, wait. Oh, no. They were trying to make those out of copper. Do not make those out of copper. They need... What are those wires made... Okay, the wires are made out of steel. Oh, okay. Do not make them out of copper in here. The amount of heat you're going to output in here is going to be horrendous. The coal generators alone, their output for heat... I can't remember where the output for heat is, but the longer that this is going to run, the hotter this is going to get. So you want everything in here to pretty much be made out of materials that isn't going to melt for a while. Which is, at this point in the game, it's going to be steel. But we're going to get the coal generators in, and then we're going to create the power spine system. And then eventually I'll put in the natural gas generators. I need more ceramic and steel anyway to be able to run them up. Mostly because I also still need to enclose this area. Or at least to there. Because I'm going to want a line underneath here. Because it's going to be, this room is going to be very cold. But before we build those, I also want to make sure that this ladder segment doesn't land over here when it's deconstructed. Otherwise, I have to do a weird like bridge system to get up to it. So I'm going to let that deconstruct. But we have the natural gas generator captured now. We also have quite a bit of natural gas already in here. I'm going to connect a filter up over here just so I can filter out the oxygen so nothing breaks. I might have to create a couple of buffer tanks. We'll see what happens. Like, I don't know if this is going to be, how much gas this is going to be. Ooh, let's see if it gets stifled. Yeah, it's slowly deleting the oxygen that's in there. If I let that run for a while, that should just delete it. And we're already sitting at 15 kilograms on the bottom. Yeah, it's pushing the oxygen up. So in time, that should delete the oxygen. And then in time, I'm also just going to clean all, like I said last time, in time, I'm just going to clean all of the gases out over here. There was one other thing I had to do. Our water tank system actually got so backed up that I couldn't let them keep fueling in here, or else it was just going to back up entirely. So I routed them over here, and just from a couple of cycles, this is already at 1 full tank. I haven't even hooked this up to the main water tank yet. Well, the polluted water tank yet. This is all just polluted water too. That is 22 million grams of food poisoning germs at 77 degrees. Just wait till all this gets added in, and wait till all that's full. This will probably be something I actually work on in the background to make sure that I get it up and running, because this needs to get running, because this polluted water is going to be what causes our cooling loops. In fact, I might actually have to do that now, just so we can also get the sleet wheat and bristle blossom farm up and running, because like I mentioned earlier, polluted water has a much lower freezing temperature than water. This is -5, where normally freezing is 32 degrees. This is going to be our cooling loop for a while. Well, I gotta let them work because we need a lot more steel. I believe once we actually bridge the power system out, we should be able to just use copper wiring going down. I'm also eventually gonna have to create a vacuum for the power, but that will come in time. Wonder if I should have it come out this way. Anyway, we got a lot more background work to do because I just need a lot of steel. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of lime unless I want to crack down into the magma biome, which is something I'll probably also have to do. Well, I've let them run for a while now, and I'm just not getting enough lime to really produce the steel. So I'm going to make a risky play. I have the conveyor chutes here made out of gold amalgam. It does give them a pretty high melting point. I think we'll be fine in here. And I have the auto sweepers made out of iron. I'll replace them with steel as time goes on. I'm going to need to get some fossil, which is usually found down towards the magma biome, which is towards the bottom. But right now, we're just waiting for this to mostly vacuum out, because I need to make sure this is vacuumed out. And we're mostly down to micrograms in here. Shouldn't be too much longer, and then I'll go through, I'll sweep this up, and I'll turn these on, and I'll get the power spine up and running. I swapped out the heavy watt wire for heavy watt conductive wire, because the conductive wire has a potential load of... Oh, actually, I should probably double check to make sure that's right. Yeah, okay, yeah. They have a potential load of 50 kilowatts, where the heavy watt wire only has a potential load of 20 kilowatts. So this is what I'm going to run down throughout the entire base. We did have some polluted ice melt, and I've been slowly mopping it up and taking care of it. Luckily, it's not too bad. The big problem we're having right now is that our water tank is starting to freeze, and it's entombing a lot of things. But I don't have the power spine up and running, so I can't warm it up to unfreeze this. So that's going to be an issue. That's something that's probably going to get solved off camera when I get the power spine up and running this episode. The other thing we started working on is we got the full setup for the bristle blossoms and the sleet wheats. It has to be pretty cold in here, so I put it in insulated tile just to help with the heat transfer. And then I've double insulated over here. And the reason I've double insulated, let me go ahead and bring up the ventilation. So this is going to be bringing up our natural gas, which I've gone ahead and started getting connected. I just realized I need to make sure they can reach that so we can get this started. Because this is probably, yeah, this is dormant right now. So we got time to actually like get this fully functioning to a point where at least I can have the natural gas going up and the natural gas vents, the natural gas power supply, what is it called? Natural gas generator will probably have to go in next episode or in between episodes. And I have the gas filter here. It's going to require a little bit of power. It's going to filter out all of the oxygen that's in here just because it didn't quite get all of it. I could wait for it to erupt, but I'd rather have that oxygen out here and useful. But once this hits a vacuum, and we'll be able to get the power up and running. I've also gone ahead and installed gold amalgam conveyor rails because I am going to start sending coal up. Also, I'm going to give everybody a little tip here. If you ever just want to go straight across, but you're kind of like me where you kind of end up doing this sometimes, one thing you can do, press and hold shift before dragging, and you'll only ever do a straight line. But it's also only a straight line in one direction. So once that's built, I can connect it there and snip this. I'll have, or I guess instead of snipping that, I could swap this to a conveyor loader and start sending all of this coal back up. It'll cause a coal backup, but it might be worth it. I've also started getting this little setup here. I'm going to have a little bit of water up in here purely for research purposes, because in time this exosuit forge is going to move, and this is going to become like my full-on research station, except for radioactive stuff. Radioactive stuff is going to be done elsewhere. How are we doing? Oh, come on, guys. You're so... Oh, yeah, they're starting to break. It's overheating in here. What's the temperature in there? Oh, yeah, the temperature right there is hitting up to 100 degrees. Down here, it's down to 47. Like, it's trying to stay cold. It's just not. Come on, there's micrograms left in there. You guys are so close to being done. Just get done already, please. While they work on the power spine, though, there is another project I want to work on. Eventually, I'm going to move all the water over here. This is going to become our clean water tank because we're going to want to pump this water up into the bristle blossoms and the sleet wheat. But we need to actually chill this area down. I'm going to drop a couple of manual doors here. This isn't the best idea because this will still allow for cold transfer, so it will get pretty cold out here. This is just going to be a temporary solution for now anyway. Eventually I want to get a whole bunch of eventually I want to get this sealed off and just have it so they go in by hypertubes. When that happens though, this entire base is going to get a rework. I'm not in a position to take another dupe right now because my my great hall isn't big enough and it's completely full. I could move the barracks and the great halls up, but I don't want to do that yet because I already have plans to eventually have them all have their own duplicate condos. I'm gonna save the pufflet eggs for now unless I can think of something better. But we're gonna start working on in here. We're gonna work on something that admittedly I've never actually gotten working, but I want to try, and it's another reason why I queued up a whole bunch of ceramic. We're going to create a cooling chamber. I might be dumb. We might have to wait till next episode to do the cooling chamber. Or in between episodes. Yep, right there. So what I need to create that cooling chamber is that steam turbine right there. That's hidden behind applied science research. Applied science, well, I have researched. I haven't gone into radbolt generation yet. And I need that in order to do the next part. So we are not going to get into the cooling yet. I mean, that also gives me a little bit more time to research, but this is just sort of the general idea for the sleet wheat and bristle blossom farm. We're going to get way more bristleberries than we are going to get sleet wheat. At least I'm pretty sure. I think Sweetly outputs sleep sweep wheat. I think it drops like 18 per. Yeah, it drops 18 grains per growth, and it takes 18 cycles. Effectively, we get 1 grain per cycle. We'll see how much berry sludge this gives us when I get it up and running. Instead of working on that, I'm going to need to create a radiation area. And I think I know the perfect thing to use. Give me a moment to set this up. So I think I have a system up and running here because I noticed that Weezeworts now give off radiation. So I've centered them in an area, and a mostly enclosed area. Some of the radiation is getting out, so I probably won't do much around here. And it is kind of a hazard up top. I'll probably move this over time. And I don't want duplicates going in there, so I mostly sealed this off, except for this one space here, because I'm going to start generating rad bolts. I haven't plugged anything in yet. I still need to get the phosphorite up there, and that's what this conveyor loader is for. Because these guys give off phosphorite, which is why I actually thought about them. Is like, wait a minute, Weezeworts, radiation, phosphorite. Setting Dracos up is even more important now. Now, unfortunately, these guys are going to run out of phosphorite here soon because they only got to fill them up once. And until I get this plugged in and get this ran up, it's not going to get to do much. So let's go over and check on our power brick real quick. Oh god, it's so close to just being done. I'm gonna have to lower these. They just keep breaking. I was gonna brute force it, but I have to lower them if I'm gonna get this pumped out. All right, give me a moment to readjust this. Okay, so now that that's been lowered, that should be taken care of. And while they finish that, I guess I could set up the other thing. I'm going to create the spine network. Because I'm going to have another heavy watt conductive joint plate here, I might actually need to push it out one more space. I think I want the power spine network where these three are going all the way down. You don't have to group them this tight together, but I'm noticing how tight my power is getting across the board. So I'm thinking I'm going to try to give each line straight across its own power segment. Oh, hey, that finally stifled. So, large power transformers. I'm just going to make these out of iron. They do take up 3 spaces. I'm just going to plop one down on each part. I will need to get some more down here. I'll probably have to jump across to this, and since it's going to be heavy watt conductive wire going down, I'll have to come down and wrap around. Wait, actually thinking about it, because of the cooling system, I don't want that there. Wait, what? Why are those made out of steel? Those should not be made out of steel. That's a waste of steel right now. Copper will work just fine on all of those. Then for the power, heavy watt conductive, again, iron's going to be fine for this, so we're going to make sure iron's selected. And since this is where it's going to come out, we're going to bring it straight across. Oh, wait. That's right. I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I'm dumb, everybody. You need that to be a heavy watt conductive wire plate. Well, joint plate, really. And then you're just going to take your wire and you're just going to go straight down. Oop, and not make that loop right there. And that is pretty much going to be the creation of the power spine. Should I have put this in the water tank here? Probably not. Am I going to have to wrap it around it? Yes. Is it going to cause a terrible decor? Yes. Am I doing it anyway? Yes. I'm not a smart person. But yeah, once this gets fully vacuumed out, which it is so close, we can turn these on after we drop a spot of oil right here to keep this area, at least right here, as a vacuum, because vacuums also have a hard time transferring heat. And then eventually we're going to create a vacuum right here. Maybe in these 3. I'm not sure how much space the mini gas pump needs. But once that's made, this area won't be able to transfer heat out along with this. and we won't have to worry about any heat escaping. I am worried about our oil, and that Sweetle's probably going to have to die. I'm sorry, Sweetle. Let's go down and check on our natural gas. Okay, natural gas is hooked up. It just needs a little bit of power. I'll probably give it a coal generator for now. Like, at least until I get the power spine all the way down, because the goal is you want to run this pretty much all the way down to the bottom. And then down here, probably around where this abyssalite... Oh, wait. Yeah, that's abyssalite. Do I not have fossil over here? Okay, I haven't quite checked everything, but there's the... I don't know if I have fossil on this map. I might have to tear up the other asteroid just to get fossil, just so I can make a ton of steel. Oh, we also have an abyssalite break right there that I didn't even notice. That's going to cause a massive amount of heat transfer. Yeah, it's already starting to really heat up out here. We'll have to take care of that at some point. I'm thinking about trying to turn this into a rain room. It's another project I've never actually gotten to work on. But let's go over a couple of the basics of this. So I'm gonna go under. Let's go under the assumption this is already vented out and taken care of. You're gonna have your coal generators, your natural gas generators. I'm gonna put hydrogen here. Then I want petroleum, and then maybe something up here. I haven't decided yet. Maybe I'll do hydrogen up here and petroleum. Petroleum's gonna be your biggest hitter when it comes to power. We'll get into that later, though. Now, if you want to make sure each one ticks on at a different rate, since all these batteries are going to be pseudo-connected because of the heavy watt conductive wire, let's say you don't want these to come on unless it really needs it. So, of course, the maximum threshold is going to be 90, and you don't want this to kick on unless the threshold gets down to 20. Once it hits 20, you're okay with the coal generators kicking on. Then, you know, natural gas generators up here, let's say you want them kicking on when the batteries hit, when this battery hits 40. So then you would just come here to low threshold, set it to 40. Petroleum generators, let's say you want, that's the one you want running the most. You got so much petroleum because you have so many slicksters producing oil. You got oil wells, you've got molten slicksters giving you petroleum. You can then take that, and if you want this running the most, you set this to 80, because that means it'll always kick on when this battery right here hits 80. And let's say you just want the hydrogen generator running always. You literally just set it to, come on, 100, 100. And then the generator will always be running. It's just a matter of how you want to set it all up. Since right now I'm going to be, there we go. Wasn't letting me move around. Since right now I'm going to be mostly focusing on coal power, I'm going to set this to the normal 90-60. And then once I get enough steel to get the natural gas generators in, and I run the natural gas all the way up, I'll probably drop these down to like 40-90, and I'll have the natural gas generators running at 60-90. And then as I add more power to it, that's when I'll start changing out the numbers. But for now, my entire colony, at least until the next episode, so there's a lot that has to get done in between episodes, is going to be ran on these coal generators. And once the power spine gets connected here, I'm going to drop another... No, I can just run that straight across for now. That will get it connected. And then you're just going to power spine all the way down as far as you want to go. Now, each of these large transformers can take up to 4 kilowatts, where regular transformers can only take 2 kilowatts. So you have to really think about how much you're powering in here and how much you are going to be powering at any given moment. Let's swap you over to glossy Draco egg. Oh no, there's some Dracolet eggs in there. Oh, I have those. No, yeah, there's one right there. Why aren't you... Huh? Oh, yeah. I am over power right now. I have so much stuff running that it just can't run. So, yeah, we're going to need to kick this on sooner rather than later. I just need this to be... It's literally down to the smallest forms of grams it can get. Once it's done, it gets swept out. We'll probably have to kill that Sweetle. I mean, honestly, the only reason we're zapping it out of all the carbon dioxide is because, again, I want the vacuum right there. Oh, yeah, and it's starting to overheat there, too. We're getting a lot of heat in there. And this is what I was talking about. Like, you want this made out of steel because these are made out of copper. And only at 130 degrees are they starting to overheat. Oof. So I'm going to let them run. We're going to come back down here and do a little bit more looking at this. So these Wheezeworts are going to produce radiation. That radiation is going to hit our Radbolt generator. And you can adjust the Radbolt generator all the way up to storing 500. I only want it shooting off when it has 50, but I think this thing needs 100. So let's set this to 100. It's only going to fire off when it has 100 Radbolts, and it's going to shoot into the Radbolt reflector. The Radbolt, I felt sneeze coming on. The Radbolt reflector is then going to reflect it down into the materials study terminal. And when that happens, it's going to charge this up and it's going to give us it's going to let us do all kinds of additional research. I might have to play with this some more because, again, I haven't really done the material study. I'm usually dead before I get here. We're going into stuff I haven't dealt with now, guys, like that cooling system that I'm going to have to research and get up and running. This is going to be fun. And then the reason we have this conveyor chute is because this is going to load up phosphorite and send it up into this area. And then this auto sweeper is going to take care of keeping all of these topped off with phosphorite. Right now, there's no radiation in there, but we're waiting for more. You can also direct the area where you want these Radbolt generators to shoot by using these. For now, we want it to shoot east, and then we want this one to shoot southeast, so it actually hits right in there. We're gonna have a lot of research that we're gonna have to get up and running up in there. But first things first, we want to make sure that's connected. Now this is gonna take a lot of power. So this first line here is probably just gonna get connected straight over to fueling the docks and our Draco Ranch, which luckily right now is just powering the incubator for a small bit of time. But let's go ahead and show how to get that set up. Since we're going to be using the conductive wire to go across, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put down a bridge so you can bridge across there. Then you're just going to link it up there. And you're just going to bring it straight across. And you could use that to power pretty much everything. These transformers are only going to allow in total 4 kilowatts through. And these conductive wires can take up to 2 kilowatts. You could bridge this into a much higher version if you wanted to. Like, you could try to run the heavy watt conductive wire all the way through. I don't recommend it because in time, these really start to take a hit on your decor. Like, in here, duplicants are receiving a negative 243 decor. And in time, that's going to get really bad. You'll notice, though, it kind of gets offset by our Great Hall giving plus... Well, it looked like there was like a plus 80 somewhere in there. Yeah, plus 80 right there. Because it's right between the plant and the water cooler. Eventually, decor is something you want to work with. And that's something I'm going to get to eventually. It's not a problem right now. It's an eventual problem. That's a problem for later, Scott. Later, Scott's going to hate me. I'm an asshole to myself sometimes, guys. Yeah, we're still getting some massive overheat damage up there, aren't we? But it's so close. Come on. Come on. Oh, that battery's busted. That's why they're having to run constantly right now. Hey guys, can we get that repaired?
Hey everybody. So I did dumb. While I was editing the last 2 recordings I did for Auction Not Included, I've been splitting them up into individual gameplay bits. And when I was moving the gameplay bit over and renaming it to the final gameplay, I accidentally hit delete. So we actually lost the last bit of my recording, which was just mostly setting up the natural gas, getting it plugged into the system, and starting on a thermo aqua tuner setup for the next episode to get the sleet wheat and berries and bristleberries up and running. So I lost the last bit, which also included my ending. So here we are. We're still going to space next episode. I know some people will probably say, like, hey, why don't you just revert back to an earlier save?
So I made a save, but then after I was done with the recording, I saved again and overwrote the save that would have actually taken me back to the beginning area. Because I was like, hey, the recording's good. I'm ready to go. Everything's fine. And I can be real dumb sometimes. Because of that, I'm going to be making several backup saves going forward. We're still going to space next episode. I'm not letting that change. So until next time, don't be like me. Don't scrub out.